hope. Those 4 years' seniority she had over him, they would show now if they stood side by side. She might be dead. He had heard nothing. There had been no news since the granting of the divorce and her marriage to that man. Aldred Sidney. Aldred Sidney might be dead. She might be a widow. He thought of what that name, in any context, had meant to him. How emotive it had been. "I want you to meet the new general manager, Sidney Robinson." "Yes, we're being sent to Australia. Sydney, actually." "Cameron and Sidney, surveyors and valuers, can I help you?" For a long time he had trembled when he heard her surname pronounced. He had wondered how it could come so unconcernedly off another's tongue. Aldred Sidney would be no more than 70. There was no reason to suppose him dead. "Do you know Aldred and Catherine Sidney? They live at number 22. "An elderly couple, yes, that's right. They're so devoted to each other, it's rather sweet." She wouldn't still live there. Not after 40 years. He went into the hall and fetched the telephone directory. For a moment or two he sat still, the book lying in his lap, breathing deeply because his heart was beating so fast. Then he opened the directory and turned to the S's. Aldred was such an uncommon name. There was probably only one Aldred Sidney in the country. He couldn't find him there, though there were many A. Sidneys living at addresses which had no meaning for him, no significance. He wondered afterwards why he had bothered to look lower, to let his eyes travel down through the B's and find her name. Unmistakably, incontrovertibly hers. Sidney Catherine, 22 Aurora Road. She was still there, still lived there, and the phone was in her name. Aldred Sidney must be dead. He wished he hadn't looked in the phone book. Why had he? He could hardly sleep at all that night, and when he awoke from a doze early in the morning, it was with her name on his lips. Catherine, Catherine. He imagined phoning her. "Catherine?" "Yes, speaking. Who's that?" "Don't you know?" "Guess." "It's a long, long time ago, Catherine." It was possible in fantasy, not in fact. He wouldn't know her voice now. If he met her in the street, he wouldn't know her. At 10 o'clock he got his car out and drove northwards, across the river and up through the northern suburbs. 40 years ago the place where she lived had been well outside the green metropolis, separated from it by fields and woods. He drove through new streets, whole new districts. Without his new map, he would have had no idea where he was. The countryside had been pushed away in those 4 decades. It hovered shyly on the outskirts of the little town that had become a suburb. And here was Aurora Road. He had never been to it before, never seen her house, though on any map he was aware of precisely where the street was, as if its name were printed in red to burn his eyes. The sight of it at last, actually being there, and seeing the house, made his head swim. He closed his eyes and sat there with his head bent over the wheel. Then he turned and looked at the neat, small house. Its paint was new and smart, and the 50-year-old front door had been replaced by a panelled oak one, and the square bay by a bow window. But it was a poor, poky house for all that. He sneered a little at dead Aldred Sidney, who had done no better than this for his wife. Suppose he were to go up to the door and ring the bell. But he wouldn't do that. The shock would be too much for her. He, after all, had prepared himself. She had no preparation for confronting that husband so little changed of long ago. Once he would have savoured the cruelty of it, the revenge. The handsome man, still looking middle-aged, a tropical tan on his cheeks, his body flat and straight, and the broken old woman, squat now, grey, withered. He sighed. All desire for a cruel vengeance had left him. He wanted instead to be merciful, to be kind. Wouldn't the kindest thing be to leave her in peace? Leave her to her little house and the simple pursuits of old age? He started the car again and drove a little way. It surprised him to find that Aurora Road was right on the edge of that retreating countryside, that its tarmac and grey paving stones led into fields.